Here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the height of summer, which means plenty of holidays, plenty of hot days, and plenty of drinking. Which has me pondering a question. What is the malted liquor? What gets you drunker quicker? What comes in bottles or in cans? That's right, it's time for case file 0086373, the beer song.
Oh, what is the malted liquor? What gets you drunker quicker? What comes in bottles or in cans? Beer! Can't get enough of it. Beer! How we really love it.
And look, I'm going to be honest here. I'm covering this song out of somewhat of a personal passion. You see, if you couldn't tell, I'm somewhat of a nerd. And it might shock you to know I've always been a nerd. As part of my nerd credentials, I've been a Weird Al fan since I was a kid. I've even met him a number of times. So, when I went to college and I learned that my college had a radio station, of course I wanted to do a show. Going on a slight tangent here, but Weird Al actually used the at that point new moniker Weird Al when he was a DJ on Cal Poly San Luis Obispo's KCPR. And so, of course, my radio show would wind up somewhat similar to Al's, where I'd play weird, offbeat, and generally funny songs. If that sounds somewhat like Dr. Demento to you, that's intentional. And if you don't know who Dr. Demento is, well, he's the gold standard in comedy music DJing. So when I came across the story of a parody song that's been misattributed to Weird Al and many, many, many others, seriously, you'll want to stick around for this list, I felt like I could probably help ID the artist on this track, but instead I found myself just finding ruled out artist after ruled out artist after ruled out artist, and asking myself just how deep this rabbit hole goes. The question of who the artist behind the beer song is has been plaguing the internet for at least 10 years, and really quite a lot longer. More on that in just a minute. But for now, let's take a look at this Reddit post from 2014, which mentions several artists the user believes are not responsible for the beer song and has the user asking who actually is. There's also not one, but two different posts from the Tip of My Tongue subreddit from 8 years ago asking about this mystery. One by Redditor raldi and another by, well, this guy. And I'm going to get back to that crazy list of artists that aren't responsible for this, but to come back to what I said earlier, if you want to get technical about it, the search for the artist behind the beer song has been going on since at least 2000. As a recording of this video, 24 years ago. Here's a post on Usenet, kids, ask your parents, of a person named Zach asking on January 30th, 2000 who the beer song was by because their search had indicated it was by the band They Might Be Giants, aka TMBG, which they seemed uncertain about, and rightfully so, because They Might Be Giants definitely aren't responsible for the beer song. I mean, look here on this old They Might Be Giants fan site FAQ. It clearly says the beer song is by Trey Parker and Matt Stone? The guys behind South Park? Yes, Trey Parker and Matt Stone get added to the list along with Weird Al and TMBG, though in some cases, like those Reddit posts I mentioned earlier, Trey and Matt are listed under the name of their band, DVDA. And while I can certainly understand attributing this song to them, it's fairly clear this isn't them. So, who else could it be? Well, I'm going to drag out that list just a little bit longer so I can briefly ask you to like and subscribe. I know, it's annoying, but it really is the best way to show that you appreciate this type of content. Thanks! Now, back to beer. The song, that is. Let's finally take a look at this list, which I put together with several Reddit posts, Discord messages, and websites. Ready? Weird Al, Adam Sandler, Matt Parker and Trey Stone or DVDA, Phil Nickel or Phil Nichols, They Might Be Giants, The Arrogant Worms, Bob and Tom, Todd Snyder, Mustard Plug, Real Big Fish, Stephanie and Felix Boisvert, The Rise Guys, Jackie Martling, Psycho Stick, Bob Rivers, Stephen Lynch, Sean Morey, Dickey, and Seth MacFarlane. That is almost 20 different artists that have either been labeled as the artist on the song or been rumored to be the artist behind this song. And so now I think we should take a look at a few more of them. We've ruled out Weird Al, TMBG, and Matt Parker and Trey Stone, aka DVDA, and Mustard Plug, Real Big Fish, Psycho Stick, Jackie Martling, and Dickie all have written songs about beer. Heck, Dickie's song is called The Beer Song and played on the Dr. Demento show at least once, but these songs are all readily available, and that makes it easy to rule them out. Let's take a brief look at the Rise Guys and Stephanie and Felix Boisvert. The Rise Guys had an upload on YouTube from 2014 called the Friday Beer Song with exactly the same audio as this song. And looking at an archived version of their website, they played it on their radio show back in 2003, which is the year they started. If you've been paying attention, you realize the problem here, which is that the beer song has existed prior to January 2000, which means this song can't be by the Rise Guys. And Stephanie and Felix Boisvert came from this YouTube upload, which says that name on the video itself, but then says Adam Sandler in the video description. As far as I can tell, that's the name of the people who made that channel, as they have those same names on the only other upload on that channel. So, let's talk about Adam Sandler then. He seems to be one of the other most attributed names when it comes to the beer song. Heck, here are 2 screenshots from 2 separate Redditors who seemed pretty certain this was by Adam Sandler. And here's a comment from Facebook that said they too had this song labeled as Adam Sandler. But here, as is the case with Seth MacFarlane as well, there's no evidence that all these guys are responsible. And even though they're both wealthy and famous, I'm pretty sure their agents would be super on top of them having a song with millions of listens that they could be getting extra residuals on. Stephen Lynch and Bob Rivers, like Weird Al, are comedy musicians, and in this case I feel like I know their repertoire enough to say I'm very confident it's not either of them. Phil Nickel, or Phil Nichols, is a hoax lead from a YouTube comment that spelled Phil Nickel differently in 2 different comments on the same video and claimed again that it originated in 2003. So, that basically leaves the 2 other biggest candidates. I mentioned the name Sean Morey, and he was a comedy singer that appeared often on the syndicated radio show Bob and Tom. Bob and Tom have had this song attributed to them quite a lot, but a Redditor reached out to them and they said it wasn't them. And since they had a song called Beer Run, it's possible that's where the confusion came from. Which just leaves the Arrogant Worms, a comedy music group that's been around for a long time. In fact, that Facebook comment I mentioned earlier, it came from a comedy music Facebook group I posted about this on, and a few folks there had been certain the beer song was by the Arrogant Worms, except not only is the song nowhere in their discography, but they have also flat out confirmed this song isn't by them. So that leaves the question, where do we go from here? Well, looking at what we know, my best guess is this from a morning radio show that isn't Bob and Tom, and I hope to reach out to a few candidates soon. But honestly, the fact that this massively popular comedy song remains unknown is such a head scratcher to me that I just feel like I really need a beer. Until next time, I'm PersonOfDistraction, and I'm now listening to...
What is the malted liquor? What gets you drunker quicker? What comes in bottles or in cans? Beer. Can't get enough of it. Beer. How we really love it. Beer. Makes me think I'm a man. Beer. I could kiss and hug it, but I'd rather chug it. Got my belly out to here. Beer. I could not refuse it. I could really use a beer. Beer.